Pros and cons of universal basic income. Let's see what this is about.
Welcome to Balanced Debating Club, the platform where we explore complex issues with a fair and balanced approach. Today we're delving into a highly topical debate, the pros and cons of universal basic income. Whether you're for, against, or undecided on universal basic income, join us as we unpack this concept layer by layer. Universal basic income, also known as UBI, is a unique economic policy where a government guarantees that every citizen receives a regular, unconditional sum of money, regardless of employment status or wealth. It's a topic that has gained a lot of traction in recent years, with proponents and critics voicing strong opinions. Let's break down the arguments. First, we'll take a look at the pros of universal basic income. Pro number 1, poverty and inequality reduction. UBI could be a powerful tool for reducing poverty, ensuring that no citizen falls below the poverty line. It offers financial security and helps narrow the gap between the rich and the poor. Pro number 2.
I disagree with that. I truly believe that if you give everyone an extra $1,000 a month, that $1,000 has no value. It just becomes the next zero. So I don't think it would reduce poverty at all, when everything will just be inflated. We're living in a time of high inflation. We know how painful that is. And if everyone had an extra $1,000, everything would go up in price. And it'd be like we're going back to the starting line.
Freedom of choice. With a basic income, individuals may have more liberty to pursue education, start a business, or engage in creative endeavors without the immediate pressure of making ends meet. This could foster a more diverse and dynamic economy. Pro number 3.
Years ago, when I was in favor of universal basic income, I did like that idea. Like, I'd be freed up to do something I really want to do, not be stuck at these dead-end jobs, not making a lot of money. I could actually do something for myself, maybe start my own business, do something with that extra $1,000. But it turns out, like I was saying before, that $1,000 becomes really valueless over time.
Simplification of welfare. By providing a basic income, governments could streamline complex welfare systems, reducing bureaucracy and possibly cutting down on administrative costs. Now, let's switch gears and examine the...
I do like that if you go to universal basic income, you would have to remove all of the welfare programs and everything would be streamlined to universal basic income. However, I also think with the current bloated welfare programs we have, how about we just reduce that right now and have people less dependent on welfare? Yes, there's certain people who do need welfare. It sucks when you get fired from a job at no fault of your own. So yeah, you need unemployment, or if you have a disability, there are certain criteria, but we keep adding in more and more exceptions. And now to the point where people just don't want to work. I know plenty of people, and I'm sure you do too, who just live off Section A and they're happy with the bare minimum and don't do anything. We know plenty of people like that.
The cons of universal basic income. Con number 1, high cost. A significant argument against UBI is the expense. It would require a substantial portion of the national budget and might lead to increased taxes or cuts in other areas of public spending. Con number 2.
Yep, I agree with that. Because anything free from the government is not really free. It's expensive for someone else. And free is actually really expensive. If you think about all the welfare programs that we have and how much it's taken out of your paycheck every 2 weeks, you realize that it's expensive. Especially when you start progressing in your life and you starting to get better jobs and making more money, you see how much the government takes out of your taxes and you go, geez, I could use that money for a lot of things. And it's very impactful how much the government takes. It's not a little amount. It's a huge amount that you could use to make a car payment, improvements in your house, a lot of things.
Potential disincentive to work. Skeptics worry that guaranteed income could reduce the incentive for people to work, potentially leading to a labor shortage and harming the economy.
I think that would go both ways. Losing the incentive to work. Because no matter what, it'll just add division in journalism. You'll have one side of journalism that shows people who are being more productive, pursuing careers because they're alleviated from the high pressures of cost of living. And then you have other areas of journalism that's going to find people who are doing absolutely nothing and just living off the bare minimum of UBI and be like, look, see, it makes you lazy. So I can't be in favor of any of those, like incentive to not work. You're just going to get people on both sides, just like in anything else, in any program that we have in society.
Number 3, inflation risks. There's concern that injecting extra money into the economy could cause inflation, reducing the purchasing power, and potentially negating the benefits of UBI. As the debate continues,
I truly believe that anything given for free has no value. And we just experimented during the COVID-19 pandemic of UBI, where we're given some few stimulus checks over time. And what happened? The economy inflated. The value of things went up. It cost more dollars to buy things. That's why I said that $0, $1,000 a month becomes the next zero, because things will be inflated in price. So like if your rent was $1,000 a month and you get a guaranteed $1,000, then rent all over across the board will just increase to $2,000 a month, and you still have to figure out a way to get that extra $1,000. I know that I've read plenty of articles that people like to argue about, like, samples of people who have universal basic income. Like they find a community and at a lottery, they grant like 10 people with $1,000 a month to study what universal basic income would do for people. Problem with those studies is that if, say you're in a community of 1 million people and you randomly select 10 people who are guaranteed $1,000 a month, yeah, their lives are going to be improved because they have an extra $1,000 to go around spending in the economy. And just like anything else that we learn in economics, that supply and demand, you give an extra 10 people with an extra $1,000 a month to consume, there's going to be a little bit more higher in demand and less supply. And of course, prices go up. But when you have 10 people with an extra $1,000 a month, you hardly don't notice the difference in the supply and demand and prices going up. It's probably, if anything, they'll increase it by a penny. And if you're not impacted by that huge 1 penny increase of inflation going on in your local economy, and you're the one who's lucky enough to get an extra $1,000 a month, it feels good. You are alleviated from a lot of things. However, if all 1 million people in that community get $1,000 a month, then everything's going to go up in price. I guarantee you. And because everyone has an extra $1,000 a month, then prices of everything go up. And then you're back at the starting point. And it's just a meaningless program that's now it's going to cost more because you're trying to run it. And then, you're going to have this whole thing with like, well, $1,000 isn't enough. We have to increase the UBI to $2,000 a month to get people out of poverty. And then you do that and give everyone $2,000 a month, then you're back at the starting line again. And it's just an endless cycle. That's why I don't believe UBI will work at all.
Crucial to consider the diverse contexts in which UBI might operate. Each country's economic landscape, social structures, and political climate can influence the potential success or failure of such a program. Proponents urge trial programs to gather data on UBI's real-world impacts, while opponents caution against hasty implementation without thorough understanding of the long-term consequences. In conclusion, universal basic income...
that was just what I was mentioning. It's like, yeah, we can only study small sample size. But if you have everyone, then the thing is going to destined to fail. Because there's really no work behind it. The money's not earned. If it's given to you unconditionally, again, it has no value. So money that's worked hard for and earned, people spend it more wisely than they do when it's given for free.
Income poses a fascinating proposition, one that raises questions about society's social contract, the value of work, and financial ethics. As we advance into an era of technological disruption and changing job markets, the idea of UBI may become increasingly relevant. Thank you for joining Balanced Debating Club.
They had good content. It had me thinking, which is good. And I don't think they have any YouTube. Is this a new channel? Oh yeah, they just started a month ago. So let's give them a subscribe. So if you're watching this, please give them a subscribe. They talk about other stuff, pros and cons of homeschooling, universal healthcare. It might be something I might cover. So please give them a like and subscribe. And of course, my beliefs in UBI, they can be subject to change. Maybe UBI does work, but right now I fail to see it. I used to think it would work. And it's really because I'm just thinking for myself. I'm like, dude, an extra $1,000 would help me out so much. I get so much accomplished. But I don't see the bigger picture of how terrible it could be for society. And like I mentioned, that if there's no work behind that $1,000, you didn't sacrifice your time and labor or anything like that, and it's just given to you, again, there's no value behind it. You don't treat it the same way as you would with $1,000 that you earned, that you worked hard for. Now, if you want to live that life where like you're the sample size of like 10 people out of a million who have a UBI, and you don't, you would live way better. If you could live a life where it's just you getting that $1,000 a month and no one else, yeah, your life is going to be awesome. And you can actually do that if you invest in like dividend stock portfolios, but I'm not going to give advice on that. There's plenty of information out there of how to do that, how much money is required to live off dividends, and how to get to the point where you can get $1,000 a month. But then again, you had to work hard to get to that point. Now, I understand that when I was saying there has to be work behind it, we are getting to this weird, strange area that I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around, because more and more jobs are being replaced with AI, robots, all of that. And they're providing the work. But they're not receiving the financial gain because they're robots. They're not humans like us. And the only people who are gaining the financial benefits out of it are the people at the top, right? The owners of the companies, the CEOs. They reduced the labor staff so they could replace them with robots. So I understand that argument. Like, hey, there's a lot of work output that's only going to the few. And a lot of the work output has been replaced by, from humans to robotics. So I saw that with, was it Andrew Yang, about like, hey, some more jobs being replaced by AI. The output that they're providing, some of that does need to go back to the labor force, because they lost their jobs to AI and robotics. They deserve a piece of that. So maybe it would work in that area. Again, I'm not 100% sure, because if everyone gets that $1,000 a month, again, its value goes down and everything else costs more. And we live in a society where, hey, if they can figure out how to get AI and robotics to work for them and make money, you have the ability too. You just need to figure it out. How do you start your own business of doing that? Then you can make your own money. So I'm more inclined to be segued that way. Like, we're all smart too. We live in a society where we're capable of doing something like that. We're not strapped behind that. Yeah, there's harder competition, but if you can be a breakout person with an idea, you can become successful. But I digress. Let me know in the comments of what you guys think about this. Please leave a like, subscribe, and comment below. I do look forward to reading your comments about what you think about UBI. Do we need it? Do we not need it? Let's have a discussion. Until next time. Bye.